Hello everyone, I'm here again on another exciting and entertaining session on my YouTube channel where I'll be discussing another great ideas when it comes to real estate investment. Today I'll be sharing with you the 5 most important real estate lessons learned from the richest man in Africa. I'm sure many of us know the richest man in Africa. Well, let me remind us again. His name is Aliko Dangote. So as at August 2022, his net worth is 19 billion USD. And he has been topping the list of the richest man in Africa for the past 10 years. Dangote, who is the richest man in Africa and of 63 years by age, is also the 67th richest man in the whole world. So what are the real estate lessons from him? Today I'll be speaking on the 5 most important real estate lessons learned from this man. Well, many of us know him to be the producers of common house products. He's also into importing and exporting and also into agriculture, and recently he's going to oil and gas because he's building one of the biggest and the most modern refinery in Africa, which is situated in Lekki, Lagos. Before I go into details about the real estate lesson from this man, so let me quickly introduce myself. I am Idris-The, the Billionaire Realtor. Make sure you watch my video, click on it, comment and subscribe if you are yet to subscribe. The number 1 lesson is that Dangote does not buy the city, he usually buys the bush. So he invests his money in buying bush. So many of the areas where Dangote group of businesses are located are known to be bush, like a very thick bush few years back. But because Dangote moved there, he invests his money in buying like thousands or hundreds of acres. So and the place now developed to become a developed area. So Dangote does not buy city. So this is the type of person that can afford to buy anywhere in Nigeria, anywhere in the world. He can situate his company no matter how developed a place is. He can build a company in Ikoyi, Banana Island or VI, but intentionally always like to buy bush. So for instance, it's the Lekki project or Ekpe project. The best form of investment when it comes to real estate investment is always to buy bush. So because one day bush is going to become a city. I'm also advising you as an investor that investing in real estate, particularly if you want to buy land, don't buy a city, buy the bush, because the bush will give you more return more than the city. So the city will have reached its peak, but the bush is just growing. And in fact, many of the wealthy men will always see around that maybe they are family friends, they are neighbors. So because they own large amount of assets like lands, like houses and the likes, we always think they just wake up one day to buy the city. But no, they've bought this place several years ago. In fact, many of them have bought the place when they are in their 20s or in their 30s. But when they become their 50s and we got to know them, we'll think they just bought the place. So my advice is that, or a lesson learned from the richest man in Africa, is to always invest in the bush, because one day the bush will become a city, but the city will never become paradise or heaven. The number 2 lesson from the richest man in Africa is that he always buys large amount of land, like huge quantity of land, like a massive amount in several acres, if not thousands of acres of land. So many of us always buy half plots or 2 plots and we relax. We'll be dancing all around the city that we are not a property owner or an investor. No, the richest man in Africa does not do that. He always buy a huge amount of land. In fact, he has a lot of property to the extent that, let's say God forbid, his companies are no longer working again. So the land will become a huge amount of assets for him. He could build a housing project there, or he can start selling it. Dangote does not buy small quantity of land. He usually buy high amount of land. The reason why I always do this is that land is a limited, unlike other form of investment, land is very limited in quantity. So land is not being manufactured. So don't buy 1 plot of land and relax. Don't buy 2 plots of land and relax. Buy more and more and more. I always advise my clients and investors to buy as many amount of land they can buy, because you can never get tired of it. Recently, a client of mine walked up to me and have a budget to buy 1 plot of land. So after he has bought the first plot, I told him to go ahead to buy another 2nd plot, because 10 years down the line, he may just sell one off and use the money to develop the second one. So rather than taking anything from his pocket, and I'm sure that by the time he will sell one plot of land, the money will be enough, in fact, to build the other one, and we also have some change to keep. We also have some change in his bank account. So a lesson from the richest man in Africa is not just to buy one plot of land and relax, but to buy a huge amount of land. So the last time I checked, Dangote refinery is 6 times bigger than Victoria Island. If you have been to Lagos, you know how big Victoria Island is. Dangote built 9,000 housing units for his expatriates, some of his expatriates that are working on the refinery. So apart from the Dangote refinery buildings, so we have some building whereby the expatriates working in the refineries are living, and this housing unit is caters for 9,000 of them. 9,000 of them living and working on the refinery site. So he doesn't buy small amount of land, he usually buy huge amount of land. So my advice to you is to always secure as many amount of land as possible. The number 3 lesson from the richest man in Africa is that he always buy property at a very good location. What I mean by location is that he always buy property in a place that is filled with government projects, that is filled with so many infrastructure projects, so that the value of the land will increase so much and increase as fast as possible. So in one of my videos, I explain the factors to consider before you invest in real estate. So kindly watch this video to know how to invest and buy the right property. So as I was saying, it's very possible for somebody to buy land and the land will not give a return over some period of years. It's very, very possible. So you can buy land and the price of the land will remain the same for 5 years, for 7 years and more, depending on the factors, depending on where the land is located. The lesson is that many of his projects and many of the property he always bought are close to infrastructure projects. So for instance, his projects in Idris-The is very close to other government projects, huge projects, just like the airport. So, and just like the seaport in Idris-The. So he always handpick a very good location that has infrastructure projects, be it from the government or from a private individual. So this will always add value to his property. The number 4 real estate lesson from the richest man in Africa is that, I've said this before, don't just buy property and abandon it, always develop. So Alhaji Dangote, once he acquired property, he always work on developing the property. In fact, he always developed the property to the extent that the value of the environment will increase in multiple folds. Go and check anywhere Dangote own properties or group of businesses. So a few years after he has acquired the place, the value of the area will develop, the value of the environment will develop, because he doesn't just buy property and abandon it. He always puts so many projects there, so many infrastructures there, to the extent that the value of the area will increase. So I always advise my clients and my prospects that once they acquire a piece of land, they should do the fencing, they should do some landmark projects on it to make the place become more valuable. So, and if they are buying houses and the likes too, there's something they need to buy, there's something they need to put in place to make the property become valuable. So don't just buy property and abandon it. So buy properties and put some infrastructures on it so that the place will develop. The number 5 and the last lesson, real estate lesson from the richest man in Africa is that he always likes to buy, he always buy a place close to water. So for instance, Dangote property in Ikorodu is very close to water, and is one of the biggest projects, or one of the big projects, which is located in Idris-The, also very close to water. I think this is because of ease of transportation of some of its raw materials or finished products to any part of the country or within the states, and probably due to the nature, due to the serenity and the natural ambience that come with a place close to water. So these are the major 5 lessons from the richest man in Africa. All right, as a recap, here are the 5 lessons from the richest man in Africa. So number 1 is that Alhaji Dangote does not buy a city, he always invests in bush, because one day the bush will become the city. And number 2 is that he does not buy a small quantity of land. He usually buy a huge amount of land in several acres. And number 3 is just that he does not just buy any location. He always invests his money in the places that have a government project. So either, or if not government projects, that have a private individual project that will make the place to develop and to become very valuable in the future. And number 4 is that he does not just only buy property and abandon it. He always put some project on it, always do something to make the place become more and more valuable, because a land will only remain a land until something is put on it. And the last but not the least is that Dangote always buy a place close to water. So thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, make sure you comment, and make sure you like. And mind you, if you enjoy my video, also recommend it to others. Thank you very much.